samakis in Homa Bay, mama mbogas in Kisumu, Boda riders and hawkers in Nairobi, in Mukuru, being owners, proud homeowners, Honorable Speaker. And there is no greater dignity that we can give to our people other than giving them the opportunity to become homeowners and become economically stable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this budget estimates, Honorable Speaker, come with revenue projections, including A&A or appropriations in aid that are to the tune of 3.3 trillion shillings. And to be precise, 3.316.9 billion or 3.3 trillion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm mentioning this last year. We have only had about 5 months to be able to realize the revenue projections that had been envisaged as we prepared the budget estimates for the last budget of the 2024-2025 financial year. Honorable Speaker, we are fortunate that this year, Honorable Speaker, we are starting off at a time when our economy is not doing very badly as it were before, and there are less disruptions, Honorable Speaker, to our economy. The rains have done us a little bit of justice, Honorable Speaker, and therefore also food production in the backdrop of the subsidized fertilizer program, which has been provided for adequate resources in these budget estimates, have augmented our productivity in terms of food production. And when a nation is food secure, then the economy is naturally bound to do better, because we have always prided ourselves as being an agro-based economy. And that means, Honorable Speaker, that when agriculture is doing well, the entire economy naturally will do well. And that has been reflected, Honorable Speaker, with the improving prices of our food items, the food items whose prices have been going down for consumers, and also better returns for farmers, be it farmers in the dairy sector who are now, through KCC, enjoying at least a minimum of 50 shillings per litre of their milk delivered to KCC. Not to mention also, Honorable Speaker, farmers in Embu who are happy. And I can see Honorable Mukunji smiling, because he knows farmers in Manyatta now are happy lots, benefiting from very good coffee prices, the best in the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker. And this has been as a result of progressive and very well-focused economic policies that this government or this administration chose to embark on in the year 2022, away from the populist things that people say out there in funerals and in weddings and other political rallies, Honorable Speaker. These policies that have been implemented under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda are bearing fruit, and bearing good fruit for the people of Kenya. Some, of course, Honorable Speaker, as we said earlier, may not have been very popular with the people, but it is not always that true that what is popular is correct and what is right is popular. And I am glad that this administration chose to do that which is right, not necessarily popular. But the popularity of those policies now can be seen, Honorable Speaker, including the huge investment that has been made in the housing sector, Honorable Speaker, with the implementation of the housing agenda in this country. Many people doubted whether this would be a reality, but with the continuous handover of completed units, the 1,200 units in Mukuru, Honorable Speaker, caused a huge frenzy in the country, because many people were made to believe by naysayers that the housing agenda would never be, and you will never see those houses. And people believed that those houses were being built for a select few, and probably expected that these members of parliament, governors, ministers will be owners of those houses. Today we have seen mama samakis in Homa Bay, mama mbogas in Kisumu, Boda riders and hawkers in Nairobi, in Mukuru, being owners, proud homeowners, Honorable Speaker. And there is no greater dignity that we can give to our people other than giving them the opportunity to become homeowners and become economically stable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this budget estimates, Honorable Speaker, come with revenue projections, including A&A or appropriations in aid that are to the tune of 3.3 trillion shillings. And to be precise, 3.316.9 billion or 3.3 trillion, Honorable Speaker. And that constitutes about 17.2% of our GDP. On the other side, Honorable Speaker, we have expenditure estimates of 4.239.9 trillion or 4,239.9 billion. That's 4.2 trillion. That tells you, Honorable Speaker, ahead of anything else, you're already in a deficit of close to 876 billion. And that constitutes, again, a fiscal deficit of about 4.5% of our GDP in the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, I'm mentioning these figures because it's important, even as we embark on what the Speaker this afternoon has read out to us in his communication on a mediation process with our colleagues in the Senate on the division of revenue, that we mediate. And I want to take this opportunity to implore on the governors, our senators, that even as we go into that mediation process, we bear in mind the kind of figures we are talking about. Because it's very easy, Honorable Speaker, to throw around figures of 480, 500 billion and say this is what should go to the counties. Now, I've just said this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, in an interview with one of our media stations, that we all support devolution. And we support devolution and would all want to even see figures to the tune of 600-700 billion at one point in time going to our devolved units in the counties. Even as we call for accountability on how that money is utilized in our counties. Because again, a lot of this money is being looted in the counties, Honorable Speaker. And we must also, as we devolve money, ask our county governors to be accountable of the monies that goes to them in the counties. Because it is one thing to demand for money, but it's a totally different subject to be accountable of that money, Honorable Speaker. There are counties in this country, Honorable Speaker, that year in, year out, for the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker, of devolution, 10 years plus, have benefited from huge amounts, hundreds of billions, but the people still languish in poverty with no health cover in their counties, Honorable Speaker, with no water, with no access through roads, Honorable Speaker, yet they have churned out governors year in, year out, and governors growing richer by the day. And you have seen even those who are being arrested protesting and burning cars of EACC because they do not want to be held to account. But we must tell EACC, DCI, and all other agencies, people must be held to account. If members of parliament are held to account over NGCDF that they do not implement, but if there is an issue with your NGCDF, the headlines, the banners will be so and so member of parliament, so much money has been lost in your constituency because you are the member of parliament, yet you do not in any way implement the programs under NGCDF. What of county governors, Honorable Speaker, who are executive members of government and actually implement projects in those counties, Honorable Speaker, even with the rampant looting that is there? Honorable Speaker was saying that for us to be aware that with a budget deficit of 876, that's close to 900 billion shillings. It's only 23.9 billion short of 900 billion shillings. 4.5% of our gross domestic product. Then it means, Honorable Speaker, we must be careful what we commit to even now as we go into mediation. Because should we say that we will need to raise another 60 billion shillings to be able to raise 465 billion for our county governments, Honorable Speaker, it means that 60 billion has to go to increase this budget deficit from 876 to now 940 billion. That, Honorable Speaker, will mean that you have to borrow more. That borrowing comes to at a cost, not just to government, but also to the investing community or our business community, our traders who have to borrow and now compete with government, with our commercial banks, because government will go to borrow from the commercial banks. We will also, as business people, go to borrow from those banks, and therefore it becomes counterproductive. And that is why, if we have to manage our public debt, Honorable Speaker, we must be able to rationalize both our expenditure, even as we enhance our revenue-raising measures, Honorable Speaker. And I know we'll be speaking to our revenue-raising measures when we come to the discussion on our finance bill later this month, Honorable Speaker, in the course of this session. But, Honorable Speaker, let me also mention, because I've mentioned the figures that we have projected for, the overall figures in terms of our revenue projections and expenditure. For our county governments, Honorable Speaker, these revenue estimates, estimates have a figure which we have put in the Division of Revenue Bill that we have sent to the Senate, and they amended to 465, and we put a figure of 405.1 billion. Honorable Speaker, that is not all the money that we are sending to our counties. Because there is usually this misconception that it is only the money that goes through the shareable formula, the vertical division of revenue, through the division of revenue, that goes to our counties. What we are sending to our counties is this 405, plus the additional allocations, another close to 70 billion shillings. In actual sense, it's about 69.8 billion. So if you aggregate the two figures, 405.1 and 69.8 billion, you are talking about almost 474 billion going to our counties. Therefore, even as we talk about figures, 465 billion, let us also now from here speak about the 474 billion that is going to our county governments, including the shareable revenue through the division of revenue and the additional county allocations and grants of 69.8 billion. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that so that even as we mediate, Honorable Speaker, we do this with some sense of balance and rationalization so that we do not sink our country into further debt. Honorable Speaker, again, in support of our judiciary, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very magnanimous in supporting other arms of government, because so much money is going to the executive, a lot of money is also going to the judiciary and also to Parliament, and the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very rational in ensuring that the judiciary is also well resourced to be able to actualize on delivery of justice to Kenyans, and they are allocating them about 27 billion shillings, part of which about 0.8 goes to the Judicial Service Commission, and 23.8 billion for recurrent, and another 2 billion shillings for development, to ensure that all the courts that are stalled around the country are also being they're able to complete those courts, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, since I mentioned Honorable Nyikala was among the very diligent members who are in this House as the chair of the Health Committee, Professor Nyikala will tell you that part of the challenges that have bedeviled the Social Health Authority and implementation of Taifa Care has been inadequate resources going to the Primary Health Care Fund. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that in these estimates, I can now see that they include 13 billion shillings that are going to the Primary Health Care Fund, another 10 billion shillings going to the Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund, another 23 billion that goes to HIV, TB and malaria related global funds, and another 16.6 billion for the Universal Health Coverage Coordination, and another 10 billion shillings towards the support for national immunization efforts. I mention these figures, Honorable Speaker, because you know what has happened in the United States of America and the global funds that are coming from USAID, and we have made sure that we are now providing and resourcing our health ministry adequately to ensure that the programs under HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and the coordination of the national immunization efforts do not stall because we are not getting money from our donor community, and that is why those amounts have been put there to ensure that that works. Honorable Speaker, in closing, Honorable Speaker, SHA, or the Universal Health Coverage under Taifa Care, is working, and it is working well for many, many Kenyans. I am so happy that today Kenyans do not need to be told by politicians whether SHA is working. They are testifying in their backgrounds, in their villages, how their neighbor, how their relatives have had their bills catered for. I want to tell Kenyans now, with another 13 billion shillings going to the Primary Health Care Fund, all they need to do is to walk into your primary health care facility. So long as your governor has enlisted that facility under SHA,
just give him.
Honorable Speaker was saying any governor who has enlisted at primary healthcare facility, be it a level 1, level 2, level 3 hospital under the Universal Health Coverage or the Social Health Authority, any Kenyan within that locality can now walk into that dispensary, get treated and go home without paying a single shilling or a coin, so long as your governor has enlisted. So Kenyans must ensure that governors have enlisted all their primary healthcare facilities. They are level 1, level 2, level 3 facilities. Since this 13 billion is there up for grabs to treat you for free. For free, Mr. Speaker. Let me insist, for free in any healthcare facility. If you get an accident, Honorable Speaker, you have another 10 billion shillings going to the emergency, chronic and critical illnesses fund to ensure that if I get an accident, I am enlisted under SHA, I will now get treated for an emergency, a chronic illness, for free again in a dispensary or health center level 4 that is enlisted under the SHA platform, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I beg to support and urge members to support these budget estimates, even as we look forward to considering the revenue estimates when the finance bill eventually is tabled before us by the Finance Committee. And congratulations to our Budget and Appropriations Committee for the good work and the huge effort that they put in ensuring that they have rationalized our expenditures with our revenue estimates to give us a product that will be good for our economy, even as we continue to grow our economy from the bottom up through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. I beg to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, the 4th of June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and Standing Order Number 239. Roman 1 approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3rd Roman, Committee of Supply. Second Roman. Next, the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper, and third Roman orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order Number 240, consideration of estimates in the Committee of Supply. The Honorable Aseka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me join my colleagues and my chair in supporting this budget estimate for 2025-2026 financial year. Speaker, this budget provides for about 4.3 trillion, with 405 billion being allocated to our counties, 1.3 being allocated to CFS, and about 10 billion being allocated to the Equalization Fund. So, Speaker, if you look at this budget, key programs that supports the development of this country have been captured. The budget provides funds for the subsidized fertilizer, which will go a long way in addressing food insecurity. This budget provides revenues or funds for the recruitment of about 20,000 intern teachers who will assist us in our GSS centers. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides funds approximately to about 6 billion that will help into employing our universal healthcare nurses on permanent and pensionable basis. Mr. Speaker, as we look at this budget, we must also ask ourselves some of the serious questions on the implementation of budget. Mr. Speaker, it's not about figures. Budget and a good budget must be implementable. It's not just passing a budget that cannot be implemented. With a deficit of 786 billion, we need to ask ourselves how we are going to raise these funds and ensure that this budget is implemented. On the county allocation of about 4 or 5 billion, Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that as the leader of majority has said, that accountability is key into this. Mr. Speaker, I come from accounting Kakamega, where, Mr. Speaker, hardly the last 3 years, I haven't seen any project that has been done by the county government, even a one-door toilet that has been completed in my county. We must also call our governors to order and tell them to stop stealing, to stop taking Kenyans for a ride, and to stop the interest they have and the appetite of looting the government resources. Honorable Speaker, as I also support, I want to call upon Treasury to ensure that it provides resources and funds for the payment of the pending bills. It's very discouraging that many of our suppliers and contractors are languishing in the streets because of non-payment of pending bills. And you see, Mr. Speaker, if these bills are not paid, they hinder the growth of the economy of this country. I want to urge you all members to support this, and we must ensure that we have a very